Keanu Reeves, fresh off the John Wick 5 set, pulls over at a bus stop to dodge the downpour. He's just a guy in a leather jacket, not looking for trouble. Then a kid, Luis, spots him. "You're Neo," and lights up. But trouble rolls in fast. The Neon Vipers, a crew of street punks on roaring bikes, led by a scarred thug named Victor. They eye Keanu's Porsche, taunt him, and flash a blade. When Victor threatens Luis, Keanu steps up, calm, steady, but unbreakable. In a heartbeat, he's dodging steel, twisting wrists, and dropping bodies like it's a movie set. But here's the kicker. Victor's got a video. A girl in danger tied to Keanu's past. Buckle up. This isn't just a fight, it's personal. He'd just wrapped a brutal day on the John Wick 5 set, his body aching from stunt after stunt, and all he wanted was a quiet ride home in his black Porsche 911 Turbo. Rain hammered the windshield, so he pulled over at a bus stop, the kind of place most people pass without a second glance. He killed the engine, leaned back, and let the steady drum of water on metal drown out the world. He stepped out, leather jacket slick with rain, and spotted a small crowd huddled under the stop's flimsy roof. A woman clutched her son close, her face tight with worry. The kid, maybe 10, stared at Keanu like he'd seen a ghost. Or a god. "You're Neo, right?" the boy asked, voice shaky but bold. "Luis," his mom called him. Keanu cracked a small smile, the kind that didn't reach his eyes but still felt real. "Nah, just a regular guy, kid." Luis didn't buy it. His grin said he'd already cast Keanu as the savior from the Matrix, not some worn-out actor dodging puddles. Keanu could have kept moving. He didn't owe anyone here a damn thing. But something in the kid's wide-eyed trust pinned him in place. He'd spent years running from the spotlight, keeping his head down, letting the world spin without him. People called him humble. Hell, the internet turned his subway rides into memes. But it wasn't that simple. Loss had carved him hollow, and he filled it with small acts, a kind word, a quick nod, $1 to a stranger. It wasn't heroism, it was survival. Still, standing there, he felt the weight of Luis's stare, like the kid saw something Keanu didn't. The mom, Maria, he caught her name, shifted nervously, glancing down the empty street. She didn't say much, just held Luis tighter. Keanu got it. He'd seen that look before, fear dressed up as exhaustion. He wasn't here to play knight in shining armor, but he wasn't blind either. Trouble had a way of finding him, even when he didn't look for it. Years of training for John Wick judo, jujitsu, hours of sweat, had sharpened him into something more than an actor. He didn't flaunt it, didn't need to, but it was there, coiled under the surface, waiting. Then he heard it, the low growl of engines cutting through the rain. Headlights flashed, and a pack of bikes rolled up, their riders grinning like wolves. Trouble wasn't coming. It was already here. The rumble of engines grew louder, a guttural snarl that drowned out the rain. Keanu didn't flinch, but his eyes narrowed as 5 bikes rolled to a stop, their headlights slicing through the wet haze. The Neon Vipers, that's what the patches on their leather jackets screamed, were a pack of street dogs, lean and mean, the kind who thrived on chaos. Their leader swung off his ride first, a hulking figure with a jagged scar splitting his face like a cracked mirror. Victor. His grin was all teeth, sharp and crooked, the kind that promised pain. His crew fanned out behind him, boots splashing in puddles, their laughter cutting through the night like broken glass. Victor's gaze locked on the Porsche parked a few yards away, its sleek black frame gleaming even in the downpour. "Well, damn," he drawled, voice thick with mockery. "Look at this. A Hollywood pretty boy lost in the real world. That ride's too sweet for you, man. How about I take it for a spin?" His men chuckled, egging him on, their eyes glinting with greed. Keanu stood still, hands loose at his sides, rain dripping off his jacket. "I'm not here for trouble," he said, low and steady. "Just keep moving." Victor threw his head back and laughed, a harsh barking sound that made Maria pull Luis closer. "Trouble? Oh, we ain't the ones in trouble, rich guy." He stepped forward, close enough that Keanu could smell the stale smoke on his breath. Victor's hand dipped into his jacket and came up spinning a dagger, the blade catching the faint glow of a streetlight. He twirled it like a toy, showing off for his pack. "See, out here we take what we want, and I want that car." Keanu didn't blink. He'd face worse, on set, sure, but also in the quiet corners of his own life. Loss had taught him patience, the kind that didn't bend under pressure. "It's just a car," he said, voice flat. "Not worth the hassle, walk away." Victor's grin faltered for a split second, like he wasn't used to calm in the face of his storm. Then it twisted into something uglier. "Walk away?" he spat. "You don't tell me what to do, movie star." Before Keanu could respond, a small voice cut through the tension like a knife. "Leave him alone!" Luis yanked free of Maria's grip, his skinny frame trembling, but his chin jutted out. "He's a good guy." The words hung there, fragile but fierce, and for a moment everything stopped. Keanu's chest tightened. He saw himself in that kid, stubborn, brave, too damn young to know fear's full weight. Victor's head snapped toward Luis, his eyes narrowing to slits. "What's this? A little hero?" He took a step toward the boy, dagger still in hand. "You want to play big man, huh?" Maria lunged, wrapping her arms around Luis, her voice cracking. "Please, he's just a kid!" Victor ignored her, looming over them, the blade now pointed at Luis's chest. "Shut it, lady. This punk needs to learn respect." The vipers hooted, feeding off the fear in Maria's eyes. Keanu's jaw clenched. He'd seen enough. "Hey," he said, sharp enough to pull Victor's attention back. "Leave them out of this. It's me you want." Victor turned slowly, his sneer stretching wide. "Oh, I'll get to you, tough guy. But this kid's got a mouth, and I don't like mouths." He swung the dagger in a lazy arc, inches from Luis's face. Maria gasped, her grip on her son tightening, but Luis didn't back down. His eyes flicked to Keanu, wide and pleading. Not for rescue, but for proof. Proof that good guys don't fold. That did it. Keanu stepped forward, planting himself between Victor and the pair. "I said enough." His voice was low, a rumble that carried more weight than a shout. Victor froze, caught off guard by the shift. Keanu wasn't loud, wasn't flashy, but something in his stance, unshakable, rooted, made the air feel heavier. "You want to swing that thing? Swing it at me, not him." Victor's laugh came back, but it was thinner now, forced. "You think you're hot shit, huh? Some action star with a death wish?" He squared up, towering over Keanu, the dagger glinting between them. "I've seen your movies. All fake kicks and stunt doubles. Out here, you're nothing." His crew tightened their circle, ready to pounce. Keanu didn't move, didn't raise his fists. He just watched Victor, eyes steady, like he was reading a script he'd memorized years ago. Inside, though, it burned. Not anger, something deeper. He'd lost too much to let this punk hurt a kid, to let Maria's quiet terror become another scar. The John Wick training wasn't just for show. Hours of sweat, bruises, and broken limits had forged him into something real. He didn't want to use it. Didn't want to be that guy. But Victor wasn't giving him a choice. "Last chance," Keanu said, almost soft. "Walk away." Victor's grin vanished. He lunged, dagger flashing toward Keanu's ribs. Time slowed. Keanu sidestepped, smooth as instinct, his hand snapping out to grab Victor's wrist. One twist, sharp, controlled, and the blade hit the ground with a dull clank. Victor grunted, shock flashing across his face. But Keanu didn't stop. He yanked the arm back, forcing Victor to his knees in one fluid move. The vipers froze, their jeers dying in their throats. Keanu held him there, not hard, just enough. "I told you," he said, voice steady as stone. "I don't want this." Victor snarled, struggling, but Keanu's grip was iron. Luis stared, mouth open, a spark of awe breaking through his fear. Maria's breath hitched, relief warring with panic. The rain kept falling, but for a heartbeat, it was just Keanu and Victor, and the line neither could uncross. Then Victor's free hand shot to his belt, fumbling for something new. Keanu saw it coming. This wasn't over. Victor's hand froze mid-reach, his fingers inches from whatever he'd been grabbing at his belt. Keanu didn't let go, his grip on Victor's wrist steady as a vice, pinning the scarred thug to the wet pavement. Rain streaked down his face, but his eyes, dark, unyielding, never wavered. "Don't," he said, voice low and cutting through the storm like a blade. "Don't make this worse." Victor's sneer twisted into something feral. his pride stinging more than his knees. He yanked against Keanu's hold, but it was like pulling on steel. The neon vipers shifted, uneasy, their bravado cracking as their leader flailed. Then Victor laughed, a sharp, bitter sound that didn't match the fury in his eyes. "You think you some kind of badass, huh?" he spat, wrenching free as Keanu loosened his grip just enough. Victor stumbled back, clutching his wrist, and in one quick motion he lunged again, dagger gone but fists swinging. Keanu saw it coming. He'd trained for this, not just for cameras but for real. Years of John Wick prep, judo, jiu-jitsu, endless drills, kicked in like muscle memory. He sidestepped, smooth and precise, catching Victor's arm mid-swing and twisting it back. A grunt escaped Victor as he hit the ground again, harder this time, his breath knocked out in a ragged wheeze. The bus stop crowd gasped, a collective jolt running through them. Maria clutched Luis tighter, her eyes wide with shock. Luis just stared, mouth half open like he'd seen a superhero unmask. Keanu didn't look at them. He couldn't. His focus locked on Victor, who scrambled to his feet, face red with rage. "Get him!" Victor barked, voice cracking as he waved at his crew. "Rip this clown apart!" The vipers hesitated, then charged, a pack of wolves smelling blood. Keanu didn't flinch. He didn't want this fight, never did. But he wasn't about to let it spill over to the kid or his mom. The first guy came fast, a wiry punk with a chain swinging wild. Keanu ducked, the metal whistling past his ear, and shoved the guy hard into a pole. The clang echoed and the punk crumpled, groaning. Another rushed in, fists up, aiming for Keanu's jaw. Keanu pivoted, grabbed the guy's arm, and locked it behind his back in a jiu-jitsu hold, forcing him down without a punch thrown. "Stay there," Keanu muttered, releasing him as the guy slumped, dazed. It wasn't flashy, no spinning kicks or movie star flair, just quick, brutal efficiency. Moves honed to end fights, not prolong them. He didn't want to hurt these guys, not really. He'd seen enough pain in his life, felt it, carried it, to know breaking bones didn't fix anything. But they kept coming. A third viper, stocky and snarling, swung a pipe at Keanu's ribs. Keanu stepped inside the arc, deflecting the blow with his forearm, then drove his elbow into the guy's chest. The pipe clattered away as the thug doubled over, gasping. Victor watched, his smirk gone, replaced by a twitching scowl. "You're dead, man," he shouted, circling like a vulture. "You hear me? Dead!" Keanu ignored him, scanning the crew. 4 down, 1 left, until Victor nodded at the last guy, a hulking brute who'd hung back. The brute cracked his knuckles and lumbered toward Maria and Luis, a sick grin shoving Luis behind her, her arms trembling but fierce. That broke something in Keanu. "Enough!" The word ripped out of him, raw and jagged like it had been clawing at his throat for years. His voice cracked, and for a split second his eyes flashed with something deeper. Grief, fury, a ghost of the past he couldn't outrun. He'd lost too much, his girl, his kid, to stand by while another mother's world shattered. The brute didn't see it coming. Keanu closed the gap in 3 strides, grabbed the guy's arm mid-swing, and twisted it hard. A pop sounded, shoulder out of socket, and the brute howled, dropping to his knees. Keanu didn't stop. He drove a knee into the guy's gut, sending him sprawling face first into the pavement. Silence fell, heavy and thick, broken only by the rain and the brute's wheezing. The vipers were done, scattered, groaning, their fight drained out. Victor stood alone, chest heaving, his scar stark against his flushed skin. Keanu turned to him, breathing steady but eyes burning. "I told you to stop," he said, quiet now, the storm in him settling. Victor spat on the ground, blood mixing with the rain. "You're nothing," he snarled. But his voice shook. He'd lost, and he knew it. Keanu didn't answer. He stepped back, shaking out his hands, the ache in his knuckles a dull reminder of what he'd just done. He didn't feel like a hero. Never had. This wasn't a movie set with a director yelling, "Cut." This was real, messy, and it hurt. He turned to Luis, who peeked out from behind Maria, his face lit with awe. "You okay, kid?" Keanu asked, crouching to meet his level. Luis nodded fast, eyes shining like Keanu had just hung the moon. "You're awesome," the boy whispered, barely audible over the rain. Keanu's throat tightened. He didn't know what to say and trust himself to. He ruffled Luis's hair, a small gesture, and stood, glancing at Maria. She mouthed a shaky "thank you," tears mixing with the wet streaks on her face. Keanu nodded once, quick and curt, then turned away. He didn't need gratitude, he just needed them safe. But Victor wasn't finished. On his knees he fumbled with his jacket, pulling out a phone. His hands shook as he swiped the screen, a twisted grin creeping back. "You think you won, Reeves?" he rasped, holding it up. Keanu froze. The grainy video showed a girl, young, scared, tied up in some dark room. She looked like her, like Jennifer, the love he'd buried decades ago. Victor's laugh was a knife in the gut. "Yeah, I know who you are, and I've got something you'll bleed for." Keanu's world tilted. His breath caught, sharp and shallow. It couldn't be her. She was gone, long gone. But the resemblance clawed at him, dragging up every memory he'd fought to forget. "What do you want?" he asked, voice barely above a whisper. Victor's grin widened. "Your car, your ass in my hands. Follow me or she's dead." He staggered to his feet, waving at his crew to regroup. "Let the kid and his mom go," Keanu said, hard and final. Victor shrugged, too smug to argue. "Fine. They're nothing." Maria grabbed Louis, backing away, her eyes locked on Keanu with a mix of fear and guilt. "Go," he told her, soft but firm. She nodded, pulling Louis toward the shadows. Keanu faced Victor, the phone still glowing in the thug's hand. His heart pounded, but his face stayed stone. He didn't know if it was a trick, didn't care. If there was a chance, even a ghost of one, he had to move. "Let's go," he said, stepping toward the bike. Victor smirked, thinking he'd won. Keanu knew better. This wasn't over, it was just starting. Victor's smirk hung in the air like a bad smell, his blood-streaked face lit by the phone's glow. Keanu stood there, rain soaking through his jacket, his breath shallow as the video looped on the tiny screen. The girl's face, wide eyes, pale skin, dark hair, hit him like a freight train. She looked like Jennifer, not just a passing resemblance, but her, the woman he'd loved, lost and buried 20 years ago, the one whose ghost still lingered in every quiet moment, every empty seat beside him. His chest tightened, a dull ache spreading fast. "You think I'm some street punk, huh?" Victor rasped, his voice thick with glee. "I know you, Keanu Reeves, and I've got something you'll break for." Keanu's mind reeled. He couldn't look away from the screen. The girl's trembling lips, the duct tape on her wrists, the shadowed figures behind her. It wasn't possible. Jennifer was gone. Car crash, a cruel twist of fate, no second chances. He'd held her hand in the hospital, watched her slip away, felt the world crack open. This had to be a fake, a sick trick, stitched together to mess with him. But those eyes, God, those eyes, dug into him, pulling up memories he'd locked down tight. Her laugh, her touch, the life they'd planned, and the baby they'd never meet. His hands clenched, nails biting into his palms. Was it real? Could it be? Victor saw the crack in Keanu's armor and pounced. "Here's the deal," he said, stepping closer, his limp barely hiding his swagger. "Hand over the keys to that sweet ride, get on a bike, and come with me. Or she's done, slice and dice, lights out." He mimed a throat slit with his finger, grinning like he'd already won. Keanu's stomach churned. Neither Victor nor him trust Victor. Every word dripped with slime, but doubt gnawed at him. What if it wasn't a lie? What if someone, somewhere, was tied to his past, suffering because of him? He'd spent years running from pain, not causing it. If there was even a chance, he couldn't walk away. "Prove it," Keanu said, voice rough but steady. "Show me she's alive. Right now." Victor chuckled, shaking his head. "You don't call the shots, man. Clock's ticking." He waved the phone, the video restarting, her pleading eyes locked on the camera. Keanu's resolve wavered. He didn't have proof, didn't have time, but he had something stronger, a heart that wouldn't let him risk an innocent life, real or not. "Let them go first," he said, nodding toward Maria and Luis, still huddled a few feet away. "The kid and his mom, they're out of this." Victor's grin faltered, irritation flashing across his face. "They're nothing to me," he snapped, then jerked his head at his crew. "Cut 'em loose." The Vipers, battered but obedient, stepped back. Maria grabbed Luis, her eyes darting to Keanu, gratitude, fear, and something like guilt all mixed together. Go, Keanu said, soft but firm. Don't look back. Luis hesitated, his small fists balled up. You'll be okay, right? He asked, voice trembling. Keanu forced a half smile. Yeah, kid. I've got this. Maria pulled him away, disappearing into the rain-soaked shadows. Victor tossed a set of bike keys at Keanu's feet. Mount up, hero. We're taking a ride. Keanu picked them up, his mind racing. He swung a leg over the motorcycle, a beat-up Harley, still warm from its last rider, and fired it up. The engine growled, vibrating through him as Victor and the Vipers peeled out, their bikes roaring into the night. Keanu followed, the rain stinging his face, his thoughts a tangled mess. He didn't know where they were going, didn't know what waited, but he knew one thing: he wasn't helpless. Not yet. The ride was a blur, city lights streaking past, tires hissing on wet asphalt. Keanu stayed a few lengths back, watching Victor's crew. 5 of them, including the brute with the popped shoulder, who rode one-handed, wincing. Keanu's eyes flicked to their movements, their signals. He'd learned more than stunts on John Wick. Tactics, awareness, how to read a fight before it started. Victor thought he had the upper hand, but Keanu wasn't just some actor playing a part. He was patient, sharp, and damn good at waiting for the right moment. They veered off the main drag, cutting through back streets until the city thinned out. The bikes slowed, pulling up to a hulking shadow, an abandoned warehouse, its windows dark, its walls tagged with faded graffiti. Victor killed his engine and swung off, limping toward the entrance. Inside, he barked, waving Keanu forward. The Vipers flanked him, their smirks back now that they were on home turf. Keanu parked the bike, his boots crunching on gravel as he followed. His heart pounded, but his face stayed blank. Whatever this was, he'd face it head on. The warehouse smelled of rust and rot, the air thick with dust. Victor led him through a maze of crates and junk, stopping at a rusted metal door. He kicked it open, revealing a dimly lit room. Keanu's breath caught. 3 figures sat against the wall, bound, gagged, terrified. 2 men, rough-looking, and a girl. She was young, maybe 20, her dark hair tangled, her eyes wide with panic. She didn't look like Jennifer. Not up close, not really, but the resemblance was close enough to twist the knife in Keanu's gut. See? Victor said, grinning. Told you I had something good. Keanu's hands shook, but he hid it. Who is she? He asked, voice low. Victor shrugged, casual as if they were chatting over beers. Some chick we grabbed, doesn't matter. What matters is you're here, and I've got plans. He pulled the phone again, this time aiming it at Keanu. Smile, Reeves. You're about to be a star, my star. A little video of you begging, bleeding, whatever I want. The tabloids will eat it up. Money in the bank. The truth hit Keanu like a slap. This wasn't about Jennifer, wasn't about his past. It was a concrete vicious and all about cashing in on his name. The girl wasn't a ghost, she was bait. Relief clashed with rage, a storm brewing inside him. He'd been played, dragged here by his own heart, but he wasn't the only one trapped. Those 3, her, the men, they were real, scared, and counting on him now, whether they knew it or not. Victor stepped closer, phone still rolling. So, what's it gonna be, kneel and cry, or do I start cutting? His crew laughed, circling like hyenas. Keanu's eyes flicked to the girl, then back to Victor. He didn't speak, didn't beg. He just stood there, rain dripping from his hair, a quiet fury building. He'd lost too much to lose himself now, and he sure as hell wasn't letting these punks win. Time's up, Victor said, nodding to the brute. The big guy lumbered forward, cracking his good fist. Keanu exhaled, slow and steady. He'd planned on the ride, watched, waited. Now it was time to move. Not for revenge, not for pride, but for the ones tied up behind him. For Luis, for Maria, for the man he still wanted to be. Victor thought he'd broken him. He was wrong. The warehouse air hung heavy, thick with the stench of rust and fear. Keanu stood in the dim light, his boots planted on the cracked concrete, eyes locked on the girl tied up against the wall. She wasn't Jennifer, not even close now that he saw her clearly. The resemblance was a trick, A cruel hook Victor had sunk into his past to reel him in. The truth burned. She was just some kid, snatched off the street, her life dangled like bait to trap him. Victor's plan wasn't revenge or some twisted vendetta. It was greed, plain and ugly. "You're a gold mine, Reeves," Victor sneered, waving the phone still recording. "A beat-down video of you? That's millions. Tabloids, TikTok, all of it." Keanu's jaw tightened, his hands curling into fists. The two men beside the girl, bound, bruised, silent, watched him with hollow eyes. Victims, all of them, caught in Victor's game. Keanu's rage simmered, but it wasn't just for himself. He'd been dragged here by a lie, but they'd been dragged here by force. Victor stepped closer, his limp more pronounced, his crew fanning out around the room. 5 of them, battered from the bus stop but still hungry for blood. "Last chance," Victor said, his grin a jagged slash. "Get on your knees, beg pretty, or we carve you up." Keanu didn't move. He'd held back before, kept it clean, kept it quick, but not now. Not with these stakes. Victor nodded, and the brute with the bad shoulder charged first, swinging his good fist like a sledgehammer. Keanu ducked, fast and low, grabbing a rusted iron bar from a pile of junk. He swung it hard, catching the brute's knee with a sickening crunch. The guy went down, howling, clutching his leg. No hesitation this time. Keanu was done playing soft. The wiry punk from earlier came next, a length of rope in his hands, aiming to choke. Keanu sidestepped, letting the rope whip past, then grabbed it mid-air. He yanked hard, pulling the guy off balance, and slammed the bar into his ribs. The punk gasped, collapsing in a heap. 2 down, the others rushed in together. Stocky guy with a chain, another with a busted bottle. Keanu moved like he'd been born for this. John Wick training flooding back. Judo precision, jujitsu flow. He caught the chain mid-swing, twisted it around the guy's arm and flipped him into the bottle wielder. They crashed together, a tangle of curses and broken glass. Victor watched, his smirk fading as his crew crumbled. "You son of a..." he snarled, dropping the phone and pulling a gun from his waistband. A snub-nosed revolver, scratched and mean. He aimed it at Keanu's chest, finger twitching on the trigger. "Enough games!" The room froze, the girl whimpered, the bound men flinched. Keanu's heart kicked hard, but his face stayed stone. He'd faced guns before, on set and in drills, but this wasn't a prop. One shot, and it'd be over. Victor fired. The crack split the air, deafening in the tight space. Keanu moved, instinct, not luck, twisting left as the bullet grazed his jacket, tearing leather but missing flesh. He lunged before Victor could adjust, closing the gap in 2 strides. His hand snapped out, locking Victor's wrist in a judo grip, twisting hard. The gun went off again, wild this time, the bullet ricocheting off the ceiling. Keanu didn't let up. He shoved Victor's arm down, forcing the barrel toward the floor. Another shot rang out and Victor screamed, the round ripping through his own foot. Blood sprayed and he dropped, the gun skittering away. Keanu stood over him, breathing hard, the iron bar still in his grip. Victor writhed, clutching his mangled foot, his face a mask of pain and shock. The Vipers were done, groaning, bleeding, out cold. The fight drained from the room, leaving only silence and the girl's soft sobs. Keanu dropped the bar, its clang echoing as he turned to her. He knelt, pulling a pocket knife from his jacket, not to threaten, but to cut her free. "You're okay now," he said, voice low and steady, slicing through the tape. She nodded, tears streaking her face, too shaken to speak. He moved to the men next, freeing them with the same quiet focus. Victor's gasps turned to a weak laugh, bitter and broken. "You think you're some saint, huh?" he spat, blood pooling under him. "You're nothing, just a washed-up actor with a lucky swing." Keanu stood, turning back to him. His eyes were dark, not with anger, but with something heavier. Grief, resolve. A man who'd seen too much to care about taunts. "I'm not a killer," he said, voice cutting through Victor's noise. "But you'll pay for this, all of it." He picked up Victor's phone from the floor, the video still running. His fight, his face, raw and real. Keanu didn't flinch. He swiped to the call screen, dialed 911, and tossed it beside Victor. "Tell them where you are. he said, cold and final. "They'll find you, and them." He nodded at the freed captives, who stumbled toward the door, the girl clutching one man's arm. Sirens wailed in the distance. Someone outside must have heard the shots. Keanu didn't wait. He grabbed the gun, unloaded it with a flick of his wrist, and dropped the bullets into his pocket. No loose ends. Victor glared up at him, his bravado shattered, pain stripping him bare. "This ain't over," he rasped, but it was hollow. Keanu didn't answer. He'd heard threats before, louder ones, emptier ones. He turned away, stepping over the wreckage of the fight. Broken bodies, scattered weapons, a night gone wrong. His jacket hung heavy, torn and wet, but he walked steady, each step a choice. He could have ended Victor, could have let the rage take over, but that wasn't him, not anymore. The girl paused at the door, looking back. "Thank you," she whispered, voice cracking. Keanu met her eyes, saw the fear fading, the life returning. He nodded once, a small thing, but it was enough. She slipped out with the others, disappearing into the night as red and blue lights flashed closer. Keanu lingered just a moment, the weight of it all pressing down. He'd come here chasing a ghost, found a trap, and turned it into something else. Salvation, maybe, for them. For him, it was just another scar. He stepped outside, the rain cold against his skin, and headed for the bike. Victor's groans faded behind him, swallowed by the sirens. Keanu didn't look back. He'd done what he had to, not for fame, not for revenge, but because it was right. That was enough. Keanu rode back through the rain, the Harley's engine a low growl beneath him. The warehouse faded into the night, its chaos replaced by the steady hum of the city waking up to sirens. He didn't rush. There was no need now. The fight was over, the captives free. Victor left to face his reckoning. His jacket hung heavy, torn and soaked, but his hands were steady on the grips. He'd walked into a trap, chasing a ghost, and walked out with something else. Proof he could still stand for something. The bus stop came into view, its flimsy roof lit by flashing red and blue. 2 cop cars idled nearby, officers talking to a small crowd. Maria stood under the shelter, arms wrapped tight around Luis, her face etched with worry. Keanu killed the engine and stepped off, his boots splashing in puddles. Luis spotted him first, breaking free from his mom's grip. "Keanu!" the kid shouted, sprinting over and throwing his arms around him. The hug was fierce, small but strong, and it caught Keanu off guard. "You're a real hero," Luis said, voice thick with awe, his eyes shining even in the dim light. Keanu knelt, meeting the boy's gaze. A sad smile tugged at his lips, soft, worn, the kind that carried years of weight. "No, kid," he said, his tone gentle but firm. "Heroes are the ones who stand up when it's hard, like you did." Louise blinked, confused, but Keanu ruffled his hair, letting the words sink in. He'd seen the kid's fire back there, small, shaky, but real. That was worth more than any fight Keanu had won tonight. Maria stepped forward, her hands trembling. "I didn't know if you'd come back," she whispered, tears cutting through the rain on her cheeks. "Thank you for everything." Keanu nodded, short and simple. "You're safe now," he said. "That's what matters." He didn't linger on her gratitude, didn't need to. He turned to the Porsche, its black frame still parked where he'd left it, and climbed in. The engine purred to life, a quiet comfort after the storm. He pulled away, the city's neon glow bouncing off his wet leather jacket. The rain hadn't stopped, but it felt different now, less heavy, less cold. He hadn't found Jennifer in that warehouse, hadn't reclaimed the past, but he'd guarded the present, kept it from breaking for someone else. That was enough. The road stretched ahead, dark and endless, and he drove into it, a lone figure swallowed by the night. Courage wasn't fists or fame. It was sacrifice, compassion, the will to act when it counted. He'd carried that with him. Always would. A profound lesson emerges. True courage lies not in seeking glory or vengeance, but in standing up for others despite personal pain and loss. Keanu Reeves, with his quiet strength and compassion, shows that heroism is born from selflessness. Protecting a child he barely knows, risking his life not for fame, but for what's right. His past haunts him, yet he channels it into a force for good, proving that even in a world of shadows, kindness can shine brighter than neon. In our lives, this teaches us to act with empathy, to defend the vulnerable, and to find strength in humility, no matter the odds. Thank you for reading this journey. What do you think of Keanu's choices? Please leave a comment below and follow for more stories. Your thoughts inspire us.